3. My name is Akinsheye, and I will be interviewing my grandfather Nkwajakhua Akinsheye to learn more about our story. How did the Akinsheye clan begin?
The Akinsheye clan began when me and your grandmother, Nahimana Akinsheye, queen mother of our clan, when we first started going together. And we started going together back in 1962 when your grandmother was 13 years old and I was 16 years old. So you could say that was really the beginning of the Akinsheye clan. But according to your great-grandmother, Queen Nahimana's mother, her name was Viola Tillman, she used to tell me and your grandmother that she believed that we were married in the womb. Now, the womb is a place in a woman's body where the baby is held for 9 months until the baby is born into the world. And when God created the universe, you can almost say it's kind of like He created the universe in what is called the womb of creation. It's almost like how a baby is, is in the mother's stomach for 9 months. Well, there was a place within existence that God created the universe, and we call that the womb of creation. And so when Grandma Viola says that we were married in the womb, I believe that what that really means is that when God created the universe, it was already preordained that me and your grandmother would meet and be married. So it was always preordained by God for us to get together. And so so I guess you could say the Akinsheye clan really began when the universe was created. It began in the mind of God, and it began in the womb of creation.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, that's ISIS, so that'll give you an idea of how long ago it was.
Nkwajakhua, your Akinsheye,
Probably
original
around 2006.
No, it's not my original name.
Around 2006.
My original name was
2006.
Reginald Knox. That's the name that I was born with. Nkwajakhua Akinsheye,
This was
both of those names, the first name and the last name, are ancestral names. Ancestral means it comes from the ancestors. And for us, of course, we're talking about our African ancestors, who were not only our ancestors, but of course, really, the African ancestors are the ancestors of everybody on this planet. We know this because we studied this, and we understand not only Black history, but we understand world history. But at any rate, my name came from my ancestors.
I'm going back to bed. I thought something was going on in here.
Where did the name Akinsheye come from?
The name Akinsheye was given to me by a Yoruba priest. The Yorubas are a particular nation of people in Africa, from the African continent. And back in 1969, when me and your grandmother were living in the Bronx, I used to go down to Harlem quite a bit. And down in Harlem, they had a Yoruba temple. So the Yorubas were a people in Africa, but they also had a particular religion. Sometimes we refer to it as Yoruba, but actually it's called Ifa, and that's I-F-A. That's the true name of the religion. When I was hanging out in Harlem, I was hanging out with some guys known as the last poets. The last poets are also known as the fathers of hip hop, and they are the fathers of hip hop. They had a place on 125th Street called the East Winds, and they used to have poetry workshops up there, and all kinds of special African-oriented events. There was one event that I went to up there where this brother, who was an artist, I think he was a sculptor, he was given an African name by the same Yoruba priest that I'm talking about that gave me my name. But this brother got his name first. I wasn't even thinking about getting an African name at the time. And they went through a very elaborate ritual, and I was impressed. And I thought at that time I'd like to have that done. The Yoruba temple in Harlem was on 119th Street, so really it was only a few blocks away from 125th Street, where I used to go for to hang out with the last poets. So I arranged to go down to the Yoruba temple and talk to the African priest, who now is considered the first king, America's first king. He's the first king that America ever had. And that's interesting. And the reason why they refer to him as the first king that America ever had is because eventually he left Harlem. And when he left Harlem, he went down to South Carolina. And down in South Carolina, he set up an entire Yoruba village, and in fact, what he considered an entire Yoruba nation. It was the first Yoruba village that was established in the United States of America, and so you could say it was the first Yoruba nation that was established in the United States of America. And he, as the priest of that particular group, was also ordained as the king of that particular group. So he's considered to be America's first king, considered by African-thinking people to be America's first king. So I wanted to mention that. So anyhow, I went down to his temple, and he went through the ritual. So there's a very special, unique naming ritual that the Yorubas go through. He went through the ritual of giving me my name, and the name that he gave me at that time was Akinsheye. Akandi is spelled Akanbi, and of course you know how to spell Akinsheye. And that was in 1969. Okay.
Where did the name Nkwajakhua come from?
The name Nkwajakhua came to me from my great-grandfather. This is my belief. The name actually came to me in a dream one night. One night in the middle of the night. It was after, and interestingly enough, it was during a time when me and your grandmother were involved in some really intense spiritual studies, really intense biblical studies. We were studying stuff way above and beyond what you would learn in a typical Christian church, a typical Baptist church, a typical Methodist church. We felt we were under the direct guidance of God, and books were coming to us from all over the place. Aunt Vivian was bringing us books. I was going to the bookstores and buying up books. And I was studying at the time. One of the things that I was studying was the 12 tribes of Israel. And the 12 tribes of Israel were fathered by Jacob. You may not know, but in Israel there were three great so-called patriarchs. Patriarch is a word that really means father in a sense. So there were three three great patriarchs in Israel. The first one was Abraham. He is considered the first father of the Israelites. And I should remind you that the Israelites were black people. So Abraham was the first father. And then Abraham had a son named Isaac. Isaac is considered the second patriarch. And then Isaac had a son named Jacob. And Jacob is considered the third patriarch. And Jacob had 12 children. And each of those 12 children became the head of a great tribe. And so they call them the 12 tribes of Israel. So I was studying that at the time. And then on this particular night, I had this dream. And in the dream, this name came to me. And the name that came to me, the way it came to me as Nkwajakhua. It was like I was having this beautiful dream. All I saw was this beautiful blue sky. It was peaceful and serene. It was like heaven. And then out of nowhere, and it was like the sound of music. It came to me in such a beautiful way. It sounded so melodic. All of a sudden I just heard Nkwajakhua, Nkwajakhua. But it sounded much more beautiful than what I'm saying. And I heard it, and I'm what they call a lucid dreamer. And a lucid dreamer is somebody that while they're dreaming, they know that they're dreaming. They also know that they have the ability to wake up, and they can kind of almost wake up on command. So I heard this beautiful name, and I realized that I was dreaming and that it was beautiful, and I wanted to wake up and write it down. And so I started repeating the name to myself in my sleep, in my dream, while at the same time waking myself up. So I was like, Nkwajakhua, making sure I didn't lose it, making sure I didn't forget it. And as soon as I opened my eyes, I grabbed a pen and I started phonetically trying to spell it out. And so phonetically I spelled it out as K-W-A, Kwa, and then Jakhua I put down as J-A-K-H-U-A, Jakhua. And when I wrote it down, I immediately realized that Jake was in there. And Jake is a nickname for Jacob. So obviously I found that interesting because I was studying the 12 tribes of Jacob. I was studying Jacob and the 12 tribes of Jacob, and I saw Jake in this name. So I'm like, Nkwajakhua. I'm like, wow. And then at the same time, I remembered that my great-grandfather had Jake in his name, just Jake. I used to think that that my mother and all her brothers and sisters referred to him as Jake, Per as in P-A, Per as in Pa, because he was he was a family patriarch, Pa. Patriarch has P-A-N, Pa. That's what fathers are. They're Pa. They're patriarchs. So I thought that my great grandfather was called Pajake by my mother. And so a day or two after I had the dream, I went to her because I was curious. I wanted to know if his name was Jacob. Because this, I thought, was something that I could really relate to. His name was Jacob. I'm studying the 12 tribes of Jacob. Jacob was this great patriarch of Israel. I'm like, wow, my great-grandfather had this great name, Jacob, And so I go to my mother, and I asked her, I said, Mom, was Pajake's real name Jacob? Like that. And my mother looked at me in a way that only she can look at me. And she said, his name wasn't Pajake like that. She said, we never called him Pajake. I said, no. She said, no. She said, we called him Jake. Bruh. I was like, oh, bruh. Brr is an abbreviated version of brother. In black folklore, we had characters like that were called like Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit was brother rabbit, and stuff like that. So anyhow, what they called my great grandfathers, my mother explained it to me. They called him Brer Jake. So I'm like, oh, Brer Jake. I'm saying, well, like, so was his name Jacob? Was his real name Jacob? And she says, no. She says, his real name was William. Like that. I said, William? She said, yeah. I said, well, why'd you call him, why did everybody call him Rajay? She said, we called him Rajay because he used to belong to this huge religious group that was headed up by this black man called Father Divine back in the 1920s, in the 1930s. Father Divine, the Father Divine movement was a huge historical black religious movement. And Father Divine started this movement of all places on Long Island, which of course is where we're all from. We're from Long Island. So she said that when my great grandfather joined Father Divine's religious movement, Father Divine had required everybody that joined his movement to choose a new name. He wanted them to choose a righteous name, which meant he wanted them to choose a name that came from the Bible. And so my mother told me, she said, Bridget said that the name Jacob came to him one night in a dream. Like that. And I'm like, what? In a dream? The name Nkwajakhua came to me in a dream. And it had the name Jake in it. I'm like, I can't believe this, you know. So it was an incredible, I felt it was an incredible connection. I felt and still believe to this day that the spirit of my great-grandfather, for Jake, came to me in my dream and gave me his name. You know, interestingly enough, one time when I went down to Harlem, after I had gotten this name, I was in this black bookstore called the Liberation Bookstore, me and your grandmother, and I was looking through a book of African names, and I saw the name Kwaa, Kwa. And the meaning of it was to come from or to belong to. And so, you know, so Nkwajakhua, for me, you know, it immediately became clear, it meant to come from or to belong to Jake or Jacob, Nkwajakhua. And I think Jakhua is just a spiritual way that my great-grandfather gave me a new way of saying Jacob. So Nkwajakhua means to come from or to belong to Jacob. Jacob as in my great-grandfather. And at the time I also believed that, you know, because of my studies and my knowledge of the fact that the Israelites were really black people, were really African people, but part of me also believed and still believes that, you know, that we're descendants from the 12 tribes of Israel. So that's where the name Nkwajakhua comes from.
What type of spiritual belief does Akinsheye have?
Okay, the Akinsheye clan, as the patriarch of the Akinsheye clan, I will speak on behalf of the clan, in the beliefs that over a period of time, God gave, you know, to me and your grandmother and the clan, the Akinsheye clan. We believe, like our African ancestors, that the entire universe is sacred. I refer to it as the sacred cosmos. And by sacred, what we mean is that the entire universe is made up from the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God indwells everything in the universe. God's Spirit, God's energy, God's consciousness. And that's really all that God is. God is Spirit. God is energy in the purest form. God is consciousness. And so everything, we believe that everything in the universe, from the very smallest particles, like atoms and molecules and neutrons and protons and electrons, we believe that everything in the universe has the spirit and consciousness and energy of God in it. Everything. We believe that every blade of grass has the energy of God, the spirit of God in it. We believe the rivers have the spirit of God in them, the ocean, the sky, the clouds, the moon, the sun, everything. And so we call it the sacred cosmos because everything in the universe is sacred. There's nothing in the universe that's not sacred. And there's a saying. There's a saying that I've become acquainted with, and the saying is, there is no spot where God is not. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that God is everywhere. God is everywhere because His Spirit is everywhere. His energy is everywhere. His consciousness is everywhere. Not only is it everywhere, it is in everything. In quantum physics, I'm going to talk a little bit about quantum physics for a minute. In quantum physics, what they found out was that the only thing you're going to find inside of an atom, or is the parts that make up an atom. When you look at the proton and the neutron and the electron, when they look at them real hard, they used to believe, they used to believe in the idea that the whole universe is material. That means that the whole universe is made up of matter. And it's almost like if you ever seen the balls that they use on a pool table when they play pool, the cue ball and all the other balls, they're like very hard concrete balls. Well, they used to believe that the particles that made up an atom, like protons, were like these little tiny balls, real hard substances. And they used to believe, so neutrons they thought were these little hard particles, like a cue ball, and protons and electrons. But what they found out was that they're not particles. So they found out that they're just vibrating energy, like waves. They call it wave theory. And so there's this conflict between the old way of thinking about the universe. The old way of thinking about the universe they call particle theory, because every particle is just hard matter. And then the new way of thinking about the universe was wave theory, because they would say there are no particles, there is no matter. There really is just vibrating energy. And this vibrating energy is the energy that we're talking about when we talk about the energy of God. It's the energy that it's the same thing that we're talking about when we talk about the Spirit of God. Everything in the universe, when you look under, your best microscopes, you find out it's nothing but this vibrating energy. It's nothing but spirit, And you also find out that it has intelligence, that it behaves in an intelligent manner, and that it operates according to certain laws, physical laws and spiritual laws. So these are the basic beliefs that the Akinsheye clan subscribes to. We subscribe to the idea that the universe is sacred, that everything in the universe is sacred, and it's sacred because everything in the universe is just a manifestation of the spirit and the energy and the consciousness of God.
Yeah, ancestors have the same spiritual beliefs.
Yes, our ancestors did have the same spiritual beliefs. All of the beliefs that we have in the Akinsheye clan are African beliefs. That's where they come from. The African, we could call it the African sacred cosmos, because different people look at the universe differently. Europeans believe that the universe is material. That's what they used to believe anyhow. Before quantum theory came along, they believed that it was just matter, so it was a material universe. And they still subscribe to a lot of behaviors and beliefs that come out of the notion that it's a material universe. And I should say, in a material universe, if it's truly material, what Europeans tend to say is that what it means is that really there is no God. And there are European philosophies where they say God is dead. But really what they mean is that the idea of God is dead, and that for many Europeans, there really is no God. So there's what you call atheism. There's what atheism means, that they don't believe in God, and there's all these kinds of notions. But in Africa, we've always believed in God. We've always believed in the Spirit of God. We've always believed in spirit. We've always believed that the entire universe is made up of spirit, and that's why we've always had a special relationship with our environment. That's why just like the Native Americans, they have the same view. We respect the rivers, we respect the oceans, we respect the trees and the land and the soil. We respect our entire environment. We respect every animal that lives in our environment. We actually have a relationship with the animals that live in our environment, and we have a relationship with the environment. We have a relationship with the land. We have a relationship with the sky and the sun and the moon and the stars. We have a relationship with the rivers and the oceans and the clouds, and all of it. It's beautiful, and all of it is sacred, and all of it is special for us. And so yes, the views of the Akinsheye clan are views that come from our ancestors. They are views that come from Africa, which is where our ancestors come from.
What is the most important thing that the future generations should remember or hold on to about Akinsheye?
I pray that every generation of Akinsheyes, starting from all you guys that are here, and your children, and your children's children, and their children, and their children's children, that every generation for thousands of years to come, every generation of Akinsheyes will remember that they are the children of God, that they will remember that the Spirit of God, that the energy of God, that the consciousness of God, the very mind of God lives within each and every one of them, each and every one of you. Each and every one of you have within your mind, there's a part of your mind that also has the mind of God in it. And some people refer to it as the soul. And some people say that some people meditate so that they can get in touch with their soul, so that they can get in touch with the part of their mind that is the very mind of God, because it's that part of your mind that gives you your instructions, that gives you your guidance, that gives you your brilliance. I mean, you have a mind that has unlimited potential. And by unlimited potential, I mean within your mind, there is so much knowledge. It's infinite knowledge. You have infinite knowledge. You have infinite understanding, infinite wisdom. There's nothing in the universe that you are not capable of knowing. There's nothing in the universe that you are not capable of understanding, of comprehending. And the reason why is because within your mind is the very mind of God. And the mind of God has all knowledge, has all wisdom, has all understanding, knows everything that ever existed, everything that exists now, everything that will exist in the future. It knows the past, the present, and the future. And within your mind, you have that very capability. You have the capability to sit down quietly. That's why your parents want you to be still sometimes. Like, all right, just chill out for a while. So chilling is a good word. Because sometimes when you chill, you can get in touch with, your inner, what I'm going to call it, your inner God, the God that dwells inside of you, the God mind that dwells inside of you. And you need to get in touch with that. You need to sit quietly sometimes and get in touch with who you really are. This is who you really are. Who you really are is the God that's inside of you, is the aspect of God that's inside of you. God is inside of everything in the universe. So if he's inside of everything in the universe, if his mind, if his energy, if his spirit is inside of everything in the universe, that means it's inside of you. And you have to figure out how to get in touch. You have to figure out how to get in touch with it, how to tap into it. Because, not only is it infinite knowledge and infinite wisdom and infinite understanding, it's infinite power. Within that power and within that knowledge and wisdom and understanding, you have the ability to create for yourself the future any way you want it to be. You have the ability to create your reality. You have the ability to be anything that you want to be. Anything that you dream to be. Anything that you hope to be. You have the ability to be it if you really want it. And I'm going to tell you something. Because of the way it works, we have what's called the Word of God that operates inside of our mind. And the Word of God is like one of God's most powerful tools. It's what God uses to create. They say, God said, in the beginning God said, let there be light. He spoke it through a word. These were words that he was speaking. And when he spoke the word, he created the universe. He created everything in the universe by speaking it into being. And that is the power of the word. And we have the same power within us. Our word is operating inside of our mind all the time, through our thoughts, whenever we're thinking. And so what we think, we create. And everything that you see, all around you, whenever you go outside, if it was not made directly by God, meaning it came directly out of the mind of God, like a tree came out of the mind of God, the moon and the stars came out of the mind of God. But everything that you see that's not quote-unquote natural, that didn't come out of the mind of God, came out of the mind of man. So in the same way, we had words, we had thoughts that we turned into reality. Everything you look at in this room started out in somebody's mind. This piece of paper I got in my hand was in somebody's mind. The shoes that I have on, the watch that I have on, the shirt that I have on was in somebody's mind at some point in time. And their thoughts became reality. And you have every thought that you have in your head. And you have good thoughts, and sometimes you have thoughts that are not the best thoughts for you. But all of your thoughts create your reality. And guess what? All of us are successful in creating our reality. There's nobody that's a failure at creating their reality. The only question is it the reality that they wanted to create? Is it the reality that's going to make them happy? You are going to create your reality, whether it's a reality that makes you happy or whether it's a reality that makes you sad. But whatever life you live, whatever the results are, whatever the outcomes are results and outcomes that you created. So for example, if you do good in school now, you're going to create the reality that you can go to college. If you do good in college, you're going to create the reality that you could become anything that you want to become. You can become a doctor. You can become a lawyer. You can become a scientist. You can become an engineer. Those are realities that you can create. On the other hand, you can say, oh, I'll never be a doctor, I'll never be a lawyer, I'll never be, an engineer. I don't care about school, I don't like to read, I don't like my teachers, I don't like the students that I have to go to school with. Forget about school. So you're going to create another reality. Doesn't mean that you're not creating your reality. You're always creating your reality. Some people have created realities where they turn out to be bums. You might hate to say that, but it's true. I mean, if we see them, we give them our heart, we give them our love, because we know that everybody in the universe is a child of God, so we love everybody, And so we practice love, and we practice forgiveness, and we practice compassion, and we practice understanding. But right now I'm just talking about the power of your thoughts and the power of the word that dwells inside of you. It's the word of God. You have the mind of God in you, and you operate according to the power of the word of God. Every thought that you have in your head, every emotion, every feeling creates your reality. So if you get angry, that's going to create a certain kind of reality. It might lead to trouble, Angry, if you get jealous and stuff like that, it might lead to trouble. You don't want to live, you don't want to allow negative feelings and negative thoughts to create your reality. You want to allow positive feelings and positive thoughts of love, thoughts of compassion, thoughts of forgiveness, thoughts of joy, thoughts of a beautiful future, thoughts of a beautiful world. Every day you wake up, you want to breathe the air and realize what a blessing it is, what a beautiful thing it is that you have the ability to breathe the air. What a beautiful thing it is that you have the ability to get dressed, and to go out into the world, to go to school. What a wonderful thing that is. And if you think of it as wonderful, then you will create a wonderful reality. If you think of it as miserable, you will create a miserable reality. And so the most important thing, for the Akinsheye clan to remember is that they are the children of God, that they have the mind of God within them, that they have the word of God within them, that they have the power of God to create their reality. And our job is to create a beautiful reality, not just for ourselves, but for all of our brothers and sisters and for all of mankind. We want to remind every human being on this planet who they are, because people have forgotten or never understood that they are the children of God, that they have within them the mind of God. They have forgotten that, and it's the role and the responsibility of the Akinsheye clan to remind them, to let them know that they are the children of God, that they have the mind of God within them, that they have the power of the word of God within them, so that we can create a beautiful world, so that we can create a world without wars and without hatred and racism and sexism and all these ugly isms that come from minds that don't know better, that come from minds that create a terrible world. So we want to help people to, develop, the right thinking, the right feelings, so that we can have a world where everybody can live in harmony, everybody can live in peace, where there's nothing but love and compassion and understanding and the beauty that God created us to appreciate. God created a beautiful universe, God created a beautiful world, but it's the mind of man that somehow has the ability to make it ugly through the thoughts that we think and through the feelings that we entertain. So our job, we have a responsibility as Akinsheyes. We have a responsibility. We were put here for a reason. We have a purpose. Nia. We have Nia. We have a purpose. And our purpose is to go forth to the best of our ability, always remembering who we are as the children of God, and always reminding other people who they are as the children of God, and always preaching and practicing good thoughts and good feelings towards all of mankind.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that story. Okay, this is my grandma. This is her table. We have broken roses on the table. We have a cup of water. We have pictures of her. We have the families. And when my grandfather Nkwajakhua was saying grandmother, this is her.
What's her name?
Well, her grandchildren and other people in our family call her Mia. Her name is Nahimana, that's her African name. And her real name is Claudia.
What does Nahimana mean?
Nahimana means to do God's will.
Good.
That's all.